The stars twinkled in the vast darkness of space as the UES Horizon cruised toward Centauri Prime. Commander Elijah Moore stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the holographic display showing their destination. The massive space station orbited the planet like a metal moon, its lights visible even from this distance. ETA 15 minutes, Commander, reported the navigation officer. Elijah nodded. Thank you, Lieutenant. Prepare for docking procedures. He tried to focus on his duties, but his mind kept drifting to the 32 children aboard his ship. They were the brightest young minds Earth had to offer, selected for the Galactic Youth Ambassador Program. Among them was his 12-year-old daughter, Kate. Lieutenant Olivia Grant approached, datapad in hand. The children are all in the observation deck, sir. They're excited to see the station up close. And nervous? Elijah asked. Some of them. It's their first time meeting so many alien species at once. Olivia smiled. But not Kate. She's been asking questions about Zalaxian culture that even I couldn't answer. Pride swelled in Elijah's chest. Kate had her mother's curiosity and intelligence. After losing his wife to illness 3 years ago, Kate had become his entire world. Something else on your mind, Commander? Olivia asked, noticing his distant expression. Elijah hesitated. Have you seen the reports from intelligence? About the Xylaxians showing unusual interest in human biology? Yes. Olivia lowered her voice. Do you think it's connected to this summit? I don't know, but I've served long enough to trust my gut and something doesn't feel right. The communication panel beeped. Elijah pressed a button, and the face of a blue-skinned alien appeared. On screen. Commander Moore, welcome to Centauri Prime. I am Counselor Trayvon of the Diplomatic Corps. We are honored by Earth's participation in this historic summit. Elijah nodded respectfully. The honor is ours, Counselor. The children are eager to learn about galactic culture. And we are eager to meet them, Trayvon replied with what passed for a smile among his species. The future of the galaxy rests in the hands of the young, does it not? After the communication ended, Elijah turned to Olivia. Double the security detail for the children. Make it look routine, nothing that would offend our hosts. Yes, sir. As the UES Horizon docked with the station, Elijah made his way to the observation deck. The excited voices of the children grew louder as he approached. They pressed against the large windows, pointing at the alien ships and structures visible outside. Kate noticed him first. Dad, look at that ship with the crystal sails. The Paxarians use solar winds to travel. They've mastered clean energy, centuries before we did. Elijah smiled at her enthusiasm. I see you've been studying. Of course, I want to make a good impression. Kate's eyes shone with excitement. Is it true we'll meet members of the Galactic Council? Yes, including representatives from the founding species, the Xylaxians, Duraxians, and the Voth Collective. Kate's expression grew serious. The Xylaxians are really old, right? Like they've been around for millions of years? That's right. They were exploring the stars when humans were still figuring out how to make fire. Then why do they seem so interested in us? We're basically babies compared to them. Elijah was taken aback by her perception. What makes you say they're interested in us? Kate shrugged. The learning materials they sent us. Half of the questions were about human health, how fast we heal, and how our cells work. Seems weird for a cultural exchange program. Before Elijah could respond, the ship's AI announced their successful docking. The children cheered, momentarily distracting him from Kate's concerning observation. As the group prepared to disembark, Elijah pulled Olivia aside. Have the security team keep a special eye on the Xylaxian delegates. Don't let any of the children go off alone with them. Meanwhile, deep within the station, Supreme Counselor Vexthor of the Xylaxian Empire reviewed holographic displays of the arriving human vessel. His elongated fingers traced the outline of the ship as he addressed the other members of the secret council chamber. The humans continue to be an anomaly among spacefaring species, he said, his voice like dry leaves, rustling. They advanced from primitive technology to interstellar travel in mere centuries, while the rest of us took millennia. Dr. Nixaya, the chief xenobiologist, adjusted her viewing lens. Their biological adaptability is equally remarkable. Their cells regenerate at rates unseen in other species, and this trait is most pronounced in their young. Vexthor nodded slowly. Our species once possessed similar abilities, before we engineered them away in favor of extended lifespans, a decision our ancestors made 10 million years ago that we now know was flawed. Another council member spoke up. The motion has already passed in secret session. 8 subjects will be sufficient for initial research. And the humans? They are protective of their young to an irrational degree, a third counselor noted. Vexthor's expression remained unchanged. By the time they realize what has happened, we will have what we need. The Galactic Council has survived for 12 million years. It will weather one species' outrage. Back at the docking bay, the human children marveled at their first steps onto the station. Alien architecture surrounded them, with sweeping curves and materials that seemed to glow from within. Species of all shapes and sizes moved through the grand arrival hall. Kate stayed close to her father but couldn't contain her excitement. "Dad, look! Real Doraxians! Their skin changes color with their emotions." Elijah smiled, but kept a watchful eye on everyone approaching the group. The official welcome ceremony would begin soon, followed by the reception where the children would meet alien diplomats and their families. As they moved through security checkpoints, Elijah noticed several Xylaxian officials observing the children with more interest than seemed appropriate. One of them, distinguished by elaborate robes, approached. "Commander Moore," the Xylaxian said with a slight bow. "I am Virtan, assistant to Supreme Counselor Vexthor. The counselor extends his personal welcome to Earth's young representatives." "Please, convey our thanks to the counselor," Elijah replied formally. Virtan's eyes lingered on the children. Such vibrant specimens, so full of potential. "We have prepared special accommodations for your young ones. Our researchers are particularly interested in cultural exchange." The way he said researchers sent a chill down Elijah's spine. "That's very kind," Elijah said carefully. "But all children will stay aboard the UES Horizon when not participating in official functions." The Xylaxian's expression didn't change, but something cold entered his voice. "As you wish, Commander. Though isolating them seems contrary to the spirit of this gathering." As Virtan walked away, Olivia leaned close to Elijah. "I don't like the way he looked at them, like they were lab specimens." Elijah watched the Xylaxian disappear into the crowd. "Neither do I, Lieutenant. Neither do I." What no one realized was that the first rule of the galaxy was about to be broken, and the consequences would echo across the stars for generations to come. The grand reception hall of Centauri Prime buzzed with activity. Hundreds of alien diplomats mingled under the soft glow of floating light orbs. The human children stayed in a loose group, their eyes wide as they took in the strange sights, sounds, and smells surrounding them. Kate Moore wandered toward a display of plants that glowed in shifting colors. The card beside them explained they were rare specimens from the Andromeda Galaxy. She reached out, not to touch but to feel the warmth they gave off. "Fascinating, aren't they?" said a voice behind her. Kate turned to see a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin. The name tag on its flowing robe identified it as a Paxarian diplomat. "They're beautiful," Kate said. "Do they glow like this all the time? Only when they sense movement nearby. It's how they attract pollinators on their homeworld." The Paxarian's large, compound eyes blinked slowly. "I am Morel. May I ask your name, young human?" "I'm Kate Moore." She smiled, remembering her diplomatic training. "It's an honor to meet you." Across the room, Commander Elijah Moore watched the interaction with a careful eye. Lieutenant Olivia Grant stood beside him, sipping a drink that smelled like cinnamon but looked like liquid silver. "Relax, Commander," she said. "The Paxarians are known for their kindness, they're natural empaths. It's not the Paxarians I'm worried about," Elijah replied, scanning the room for the 10th time. He counted the children again. All 32 were present, engaged in conversations or examining exhibits around the hall. A group of Xylaxian officials entered through the main doors. At their center walked Supreme Counselor Vexthor, his ancient face a mask of diplomatic politeness. His eyes, however, moved methodically across the room, pausing briefly on each human child. "Keep watch," Elijah muttered to Olivia. He straightened his uniform and moved to greet the counselor as protocol demanded. "Supreme Counselor Vexthor," Elijah said with a respectful bow. "On behalf of Earth, we thank you for hosting this summit." The Xylaxian's face crinkled in what might have been a smile. "Commander Moore, your young representatives bring fresh energy to these old halls. It has been too long since we've had human children visit our station." Something in the way he said "too long" made Elijah's skin crawl. "I understand your scientists have shown interest in human biology recently," Elijah said carefully. "Any particular reason?" Vexthor's expression didn't change. "Merely academic curiosity, Commander. Your species adapts so quickly. It is noteworthy." Before Elijah could press further, the lights in the hall flickered once, then twice. The background hum of the station's systems faltered. For exactly 7 seconds, the entire reception hall plunged into darkness. Emergency lights snapped on, bathing everyone in a red glow. Elijah immediately reached for his communication device. "Security team, report. All officers locate and secure the children." Chaos erupted as diplomats from different species reacted to the sudden darkness with varying degrees of alarm. Some species with natural night vision moved calmly, while others stumbled in confusion. Elijah pushed through the crowd toward where he had last seen Kate. The glowing plant still pulsed with light, but his daughter was nowhere near them. "Kate," he called out. "Kate, where are you?" Lieutenant Grant's voice came through his earpiece. "Commander, we have a situation. I can't locate several of the children." Cold fear gripped Elijah's heart. "How many?" 8 missing, sir. Including Kate. The station's normal lighting returned. Security officers from various species hurried into the hall. A Doraxian security chief approached Elijah, her skin shifting from blue to a concerned purple. "Commander Moore, we've initiated emergency protocols. No ships have left the docking bays, and all transporters are locked down." "Then where are they?" Elijah demanded, struggling to maintain his professional composure. The security chief's skin darkened further. "We're scanning all areas, but there are parts of this station that date back thousands of years. Old passages, maintenance tunnels." Elijah activated his command channel. "This is Commander Moore to all UES Horizon personnel. We have 8 children missing. This is now a search and rescue operation. Authorization to arm yourselves." Far below the reception hall, deep within the moon that Centauri Prime orbited, Dr. Nixie supervised as 8 unconscious human children were placed in transparent pods. The laboratory hummed with advanced equipment, screens displaying vital signs and biological data for each child. "Remarkable," she said, examining the readings from Kate's pod. "Their immune systems are already responding to the sedative. We'll need to adjust the dosage." A junior scientist approached nervously. "Doctor, the power fluctuation lasted longer than planned. The humans will notice the missing children immediately." Dr. Nixaya didn't look up from her work. "By the time they determine what happened, we'll have completed the initial extraction. Supreme Counselor Vexthor will keep them occupied with diplomatic delays." The scientist looked uncertain. "But doctor, the humans are known to be extreme when their young are threatened. The historical records show isolated incidents blown out of proportion." Dr. Nixa interrupted. "The Galactic Council has managed thousands of species for millions of years. One emotional young race will not disrupt our work." She moved to the center console and activated a holographic display of the children's genetic structures. "Begin extracting samples from subjects 1 through 4. Standard procedure." Meanwhile, back in the reception hall, Commander Moore had gathered his officers and the station security team. "I want every inch of this station searched," he said, his voice hard as steel. "Every maintenance shaft, every storage room, every restricted area." The Doraxian security chief shifted uncomfortably. Commander, some areas require council authorization to— I don't care, Elijah cut her off. My daughter and 7 other children are missing. Either you help us search or we do it ourselves. Lieutenant Grant approached, her face grim. Sir, we've just received a message from Earth. They detected our emergency signal. 3 battle cruisers have already changed course to our location. The Duraxian skin paled to a light lavender. Battle cruisers? Surely this is an overreaction. The children must still be on the station. Elijah's expression remained stone cold. You don't understand. In human history, there is no greater crime than harming another's child. If these children aren't found safe and sound very soon, what happens next will be remembered in galactic history for centuries. In a quiet corner of the reception hall, the Paxarian diplomat Morel watched the humans with growing distress. His species' empathic abilities let him feel the rising tide of fear and fury building in them. More troubling were the emotions he had sensed earlier from the Xylaxian delegation, cold calculation and a disturbing eagerness. Morel knew what was happening. The Paxarians had long suspected the Xylaxians of conducting forbidden research, but had never had proof. Now, faced with the prospect of an interstellar incident that could tear apart the Galactic Council, he made a decision that would forever change his life. He approached Commander Moore, trembling slightly. Commander, Morel said quietly, I believe I know where your children are, but helping you will make me a traitor to the Council. Elijah turned to him with desperate hope. Please, my daughter. Morel's compound eyes darted nervously around the room. The third moon. There is a research facility beneath its surface that officially doesn't exist. Few know about it, but— He hesitated. The Xylaxians have been studying the regenerative abilities of various species for centuries. Who took them? Elijah asked, his voice barely controlled. The order came from within the Council itself. The Xylaxian Directorate. In her pod in the hidden facility, Kate Moore's eyes fluttered. The sedative, calibrated for adult humans, was wearing off faster than the Xylaxian scientists had calculated. Though her body remained still, her mind was awakening. And with it came the realization that she and her friends were in terrible danger. News of the missing children spread through human space with incredible speed. Within hours, military channels buzzed with activity as ships changed course toward Centauri Prime. Families across Earth gathered around screens, watching as reporters shared what little information was available. 8 children taken during a diplomatic summit. The Galactic Council denies involvement. Earth Defense Fleet on high alert. On the bridge of the UES Defiance, Admiral Sophia Bell reviewed the tactical display. 47 human warships had already arrived in the Centauri system, with hundreds more on the way. Her gray eyes narrowed as she studied the massive space station and its 3 moons. Status report, she commanded. Her second-in-command stepped forward. The UES Horizon has established a secure perimeter around the 3rd moon. Commander Moore is preparing a rescue team. The Galactic Council is demanding we stand down. Admiral Bell's expression hardened. Open a channel to the Council chambers. On Centauri Prime, the Council representatives had gathered for an emergency session. Species from across the galaxy argued loudly about the human military response. Supreme Counselor Vex Thor sat calmly at the center, watching the chaos with ancient patience. A communication officer rushed in. Admiral Bell of the Earth Defense Fleet demands to address the Council. The large screen at the front of the chamber activated, showing Admiral Bell's stern face. Honorable representatives, she began, her voice steady but cold. You have exactly 6 hours to return all human children, unharmed, and surrender those responsible. After that, we will retrieve them ourselves, and there will be no sanctuary anywhere in this galaxy for those involved. Shocked murmurs filled the chamber. Many species had never seen humans make such direct threats. A Duraxian representative stood. Admiral, surely we can resolve this diplomatically. The Council has not authorized any action against human children. Then who did? Admiral, Bell demanded. 8 children disappeared from a station under Council protection. If the Council claims no responsibility, then it admits it cannot control its own territory. Supreme Counselor Vexthor finally spoke, his ancient voice silencing the room. Admiral Bell, your species has been part of galactic society for less than 2 centuries. There are protocols and procedures that must be followed. Your military posturing is inappropriate and premature. Admiral Bell leaned closer to the screen. With all due respect, Counselor, when it comes to the safety of our children, humans don't follow protocols. We follow a much older and simpler rule that those who harm our young will face our full wrath. Her eyes moved across the assembled representatives. 6 hours. The transmission ended, leaving the council chamber in stunned silence. On Earth, millions of humans watched recordings of Admiral Bell's ultimatum. Military enrollment centers across the planet were flooded with volunteers. Factory workers shifted to emergency production schedules. Nations that had fought each other for centuries put aside their differences, united by a single purpose. In orbit around the third moon of Centauri Prime, Commander Elijah Moore prepared his rescue team aboard the UES Horizon. Lieutenant Grant checked the weapons while Morel, the Paxarian diplomat, studied holographic maps of the moon's surface. The facility entrance is disguised as a maintenance outpost, Morel explained, pointing to a spot on the northern hemisphere. It was built before I was born, supposedly for quarantine research. Elijah loaded his sidearm. How many guards? Unknown, Morel admitted. But Xylaxians value their scientists above their soldiers. There may be more researchers than security. Personnel. Elijah turned to his team, 12 Earth Special Forces operators, each checking their equipment with grim determination. Our mission is clear. Find and extract our children. Non-lethal force when possible, but the safety of those kids is our absolute priority. He paused, meeting each soldier's eyes. This isn't just a rescue mission. What we do today will show the galaxy what happens when someone breaks the first rule. Inside the hidden facility, Kate Moore kept her eyes closed and her breathing steady. The Xylaxian scientists had checked her pod twice, adjusting something in the tubes connected to her arm. She had heard them talking about unexpected resistance to the sedative and remarkable immune response. Carefully, she moved her fingers, feeling for the small paper clip hidden in her pocket. Her father had taught her this trick years ago. Always have something small and metal, just in case. At the time, she'd thought he was being silly. What kind of locks would a child need to pick? Now she understood. In the neighboring pod, she could see Jason, another student from the ambassador program. His eyes were still closed, but his fingers were twitching. The scientists were too busy analyzing data to notice. Dr. Nixa stood at the central console, excitement evident in her voice. The cellular samples show extraordinary regenerative capabilities. The human children recover from microdamage almost immediately. If we can isolate the genetic factors responsible. A junior scientist approached nervously. Doctor, we're receiving urgent messages from the Council. Human warships have surrounded the moon. They're demanding the return of the children. Dr. Nixa barely looked up. Let the Council handle the diplomatic situation. Our work is too important to interrupt. Supreme Counselor Vexthor will ensure we have the time we need. But Doctor, there are reports that Earth has mobilized its entire fleet. They've issued an ultimatum. This finally caught Dr. Nixa's attention. An ultimatum? That's absurd. No species would risk galactic censure over 8 individuals. The junior scientist's voice quavered. The humans have given the Council 6 hours to return the children and surrender those responsible. After that, they say they will retrieve them by force. Dr. Nixa considered this information, her confidence wavering for the first time. Prepare to move the subjects to our homeworld. We can continue the research there, away from this complication. On the UES Horizon, Commander Moore's team boarded the stealth shuttle. Designed to evade most detection systems, it was their best chance of reaching the surface unnoticed. Elijah checked his equipment one last time, his thoughts fixed on Kate. Lieutenant Grant sat beside him. We'll find her, sir. Elijah nodded, his face set with determination. I know we will. And when we do, the Xylaxians will learn why every spacefaring race gives Earth a wide berth. The shuttle detached from the horizon and began its descent toward the moon's surface. Morell provided coordinates for a landing zone 2 kilometers from the hidden entrance, hoping to avoid any perimeter sensors. As they approached, Lieutenant Grant studied the sensor readings. Commander, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures. Multiple shuttles powering up inside the mountain. Elijah leaned forward. They're preparing to move the children. We need to hurry. He turned to the pilot. Change of plans. Take us directly to the main entrance. Stealth be damned. In the council chambers, Ambassador Daniel Wright, Earth's representative, addressed the increasingly divided assembly. At 67, he was considered young by council standards, but the gravity in his voice commanded attention. When humanity joined this council, we brought with us certain non-negotiable values. Chief among them was that children, of any species, are to be protected at all costs. He paused, looking at each council member. You fear our military response? You should. But what should terrify you more is this. If the council cannot uphold its most fundamental ethical principle, then the entire framework of our cooperation is meaningless. Supreme Counselor Vexthor rose slowly. Ambassador Wright, while I sympathize with your concerns, your species' aggressive response threatens the peace we have maintained for millennia. The Council will investigate these allegations through proper channels. Proper channels? Ambassador Wright repeated, his voice sharp with disbelief. 8 children are missing, and you speak of proper channels? Time is running out, Counselor, not just for the ultimatum, but for the very foundation of trust between our worlds. In her pod, Kate had worked the paperclip into the shape she needed. When the scientists turned to check the other children, she carefully began working on the lock mechanism of her restraints. Her heart pounded, but her hands remained steady. She had one chance to get this right. Across the room, alarms suddenly blared. A Xylaxian security officer burst through the door. Doctor, we have detected an unauthorized vessel approaching the main entrance. It appears to be of human origin. Dr. Nixay's calm finally broke. Impossible. How did they find this facility? Her eyes darted to Morell's empty workstation. The Paxarian, he must have told them. She turned to her staff. Accelerate preparation for departure. We leave immediately. As chaos erupted in the, lab, Kate felt her restraint click open. She kept her eyes closed and her body still, waiting for the perfect moment. Her father was coming. All she needed to do was stay alive and help the others until he arrived. The rescue shuttle landed hard on the moon's surface, kicking up dust as Commander Elijah Moore and his team deployed. They moved quickly toward the hidden entrance, weapons ready. Lieutenant Grant monitored her scanner. Life signs approximately 200 meters below us, she reported. Multiple species, including human children. Elijah nodded. Team 1 with me through the main entrance. Team 2, find the emergency exit Morell mentioned. If they try to move the children, cut them off. The Paxarian diplomat looked nervous, but determined. The entrance should be disguised as a maintenance hatch behind those rock formations. As they approached, a section of the seemingly solid rock face slid open. 2 Xylaxian security officers emerged, weapons raised. Before they could fire, the Earth Special Forces had already disabled them with non-lethal stun rounds. They know. We're here, Elijah said grimly. Move fast. Inside the facility, alarms blared as Dr. Nixay frantically gathered research data. Transfer the subjects to the transport vessels immediately. Wipe the main database after download completion. Kate waited for her moment. When the scientist checking her pod turned away to respond to the alarms, she opened her eyes. Across from her, Jason was also awake. Their eyes met briefly, and he gave a tiny nod. Kate carefully removed her restraints and looked around. The other children were being prepared for transport, still unconscious. She had to act fast. The transport vessels were docked in a bay connected to the main lab. Kate slid silently from her pod and crouched behind a large piece of equipment. She counted 6 Xylaxian scientists and 4 security personnel in the room. Up above, Elijah's team encountered minimal resistance as they moved deeper into the facility. The Xylaxians had not expected anyone to find their secret laboratory, let alone mount a rescue operation so quickly. "Commander," Lieutenant Grant said urgently, "I'm reading power surges consistent with ships preparing for departure. They're trying to move the children off-world." Elijah quickened his pace. "Not happening." In the Galactic Council chamber, the debate had turned fierce. Many representatives now openly questioned the Xylaxian leadership. A Taurian delegate pounded his massive fist on the table. "If these allegations are true, the Xylaxians have violated the most sacred understanding among spacefaring species." Supreme Counselor Vexthor maintained his calm demeanor, but sweat beaded on his ancient skin. "There is no proof of Xylaxian involvement. These accusations are based on speculation and the word of a junior Paxarian diplomat who has clearly been manipulated by human emotions." Ambassador Wright stood. "Then you won't mind if we inspect the facility on the third moon? The one that supposedly doesn't exist?" Before Vexthor could respond, a communication officer burst into the chamber. "Counselors, we're receiving reports of weapons fire at the third moon. Human forces have engaged with Xylaxian security." The chamber erupted in chaos. In orbit around the moon, Admiral Bell received real-time updates from Commander Moore's team. She turned to her tactical officer. "Move the fleet into position. If a single ship attempts to leave that moon without our authorization, disable it immediately." The Admiral opened a channel to all human vessels. "All ships, this is Admiral Bell. We have confirmed our children are being held against their will. Standard rescue protocols are now in effect. I repeat, standard rescue protocols are now in effect." Throughout the fleet, weapons systems powered up as ships moved into strategic positions around the moon and station. Deep in the facility, Kate had managed to reach the control panel for the lab's door locks. Using skills she had learned in her tech classes back on Earth, she identified the right sequence to seal the transport bay doors. The Xylaxian scientists would not be able to move the children to their ships. "What is happening?" Dr. Nixea demanded, as warning lights flashed across her console. "Why are the bay doors not responding?" A security officer checked the systems. "Someone has triggered an emergency lockdown. The transport vessels cannot depart." Dr. Nixea's eyes narrowed as she scanned the room, noticing Kate's empty pod for the first time. "The human child is awake. Find her immediately." Kate ducked behind a row of storage containers as Xylaxian security personnel began searching the Y lab. She needed to free the other children, but first she had to avoid being caught. Meanwhile, Elijah's team reached the main laboratory level. They encountered a security checkpoint and quickly overwhelmed the guards. Lieutenant Grant accessed the facility's internal systems. "Sir, I'm picking up unusual activity in the main lab. Someone has activated emergency protocols from inside." Elijah felt a surge of pride. "That's my girl. She's fighting back." Inside the lab, Jason had also managed to free himself from his pod. While the Xylaxian searched for Kate, he began quietly disabling the sedation systems for the other children. Dr. Nixea grew increasingly desperate. "Seal all internal doors. No one enters or leaves this facility." She turned to her chief security officer. "If we cannot transport the subjects, we must at least secure our research data. It is too valuable to lose." The security officer nodded grimly. "And the human child? Recapture if possible. If not..." Dr. Nixea hesitated only briefly. "Eliminate the threat." Outside the main laboratory doors, Elijah's team prepared to breach. Explosives were placed at strategic points while Lieutenant Grant monitored life signs inside. "Sir, I'm reading 9 human signatures. 8 are grouped together, near the center of the room. 1 is moving around the perimeter." "Kate," Elijah whispered. "Set charges for minimal concussion." "On my mark." Inside, Kate had worked her way around to where Jason was helping the other children. Lily, the youngest of the group at 10 years old, was now awake and frightened. "It's okay," Kate whispered. "My dad is coming. We just need to stay hidden until he gets here." Jason nodded toward a service corridor. "There's a maintenance shaft over there. We can hide the younger kids inside." The Xylaxian security team was closing in, methodically searching each section of the lab. Kate and Jason hurried to move the children who were still groggy from the sedatives. Just as they reached the maintenance shaft, the main laboratory doors exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris came Earth Special Forces, weapons raised. "This is Commander Elijah Moore of the Earth Space Force. Surrender immediately." Kate nearly cried with relief. "Dad, we're over here." Elijah spotted his daughter across the room. "Kate, get down." Dr. Nixay grabbed a weapon from a fallen security officer and aimed it at the children. "Stay back, Commander. I will not allow you to interrupt this research. It is too important for the future of our species." Elijah's voice was deadly calm. "Lower your weapon, Doctor. There's nowhere for you to go." Dr. Nixay's hand trembled slightly. "You humans don't understand. My species is dying. Our cellular degradation accelerates with each generation. These children hold the key to our survival." "That doesn't justify kidnapping and experimenting on children," Elijah replied, his weapon trained on the doctor. "Last chance. Surrender." For a moment, the lab was silent except for the wailing alarms. Then Dr. Nixay slowly lowered her weapon. "Take their research data," Elijah ordered his team. "All of it. Lieutenant Grant. Secure the children for immediate evacuation." As the team moved through the lab, Lieutenant Grant accessed a computer terminal. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through the files. "Commander, you need to see this. The Xylaxians, they've done this before, to other species. There are records here going back centuries." Elijah's expression hardened. "Download everything. The Galactic Council needs to see exactly what's been happening under their noses." Kate ran to her father, who hugged her tightly. "I knew you'd come," she said. "Always," he promised. He looked over at the other children now being tended to by medics. "Are you all okay?" Kate nodded. "They took samples from us. Said something about our cells being special." Elijah's communicator buzzed. Admiral Bell's voice came through. "Commander, status report." "Admiral, mission accomplished. We have recovered all 8 children. They appear to be in good condition. We've also secured valuable intelligence about Xylaxian operations." "Excellent work, Commander. Bring them home." The Galactic Council is about to learn exactly how seriously humans take the first rule of the galaxy. 3 weeks after the rescue mission at Centauri Prime, representatives from over 400 spacefaring species gathered at a massive space station orbiting a pulsar at the edge of the galaxy. The neutral territory had been chosen for what many were calling the most important diplomatic summit in galactic history. The Galactic Council, in its previous form, had collapsed. The data recovered from the secret Xylaxian facility had revealed centuries of similar research conducted on multiple species young. The evidence was undeniable, showing that Supreme Counselor Vexthor and a small group of Xylaxian leaders had authorized these violations for generations. On the Xylaxian homeworld, their own people had risen up in outrage. The public had never known about these experiments. Upon learning the truth, they overthrew their leadership and demanded justice. Vexthor and Dr. Nixay now awaited trial under the newly created Interspecies Protection Accord. Commander Elijah Moore stood beside Ambassador Wright on the observation deck of the Earth vessel UES Horizon. They watched as ships from across the galaxy continued to arrive for the signing ceremony. "Did you ever imagine we'd see something like this?" Ambassador Wright asked, gesturing to the gathering fleet. Elijah shook his head. "No. When I joined the Space Force, I thought our biggest challenge would be proving humans belonged among the stars. I never thought we'd end up reshaping galactic society." "That wasn't our intention," Wright replied. "We simply stood by our most basic principle. Children must be protected at all costs." Lieutenant Grant approached them. "Sir, Admiral Bell has arrived. The signing ceremony will begin in 1 hour." Elijah nodded. "I'll be there. First, I need to check on Kate and the others." He found the children in the ship's recreation area. All 8 had recovered physically from their ordeal, though counselors continued to work with them to process the experience. To Elijah's surprise, they were laughing and playing a game with several alien children who had been rescued during The investigation of other Zelaxian facilities. Kate noticed her father and ran to him. "Dad, we're teaching the Doraxian kids how to play chess. Their minds work differently than ours. They see patterns we don't even notice." Elijah smiled. The resilience of children never ceased to amaze him. "Having fun?" "Yes." "And guess what? The Paxarian Council offered all of us spots in their advanced education program. They said our unique perspective would benefit their society." "Are you interested?" Elijah asked. Kate considered this. "Maybe someday. But first, I want to help with the new Youth Ambassador program. After everything that happened, I think it's more important than ever that different species understand each other better." Elijah hugged his daughter tightly. "I'm so proud of you." In the Grand Assembly Hall, Admiral Sophia Bell stood at the podium, addressing the gathered representatives. The massive room was filled to capacity, with delegates from hundreds of worlds. 3 weeks ago, we discovered that the most fundamental trust between spacefaring species had been violated, she began. The response was not just a human one. Species across the galaxy stood together to say this will never happen again. She gestured to the document displayed on screens throughout the hall. "Today, we establish the Interspecies Protection Accord. Its first article is clear. The protection of all sentient young is the paramount responsibility of every spacefaring civilization. Violation of this principle will be considered an act of war against all signatories." A Doraxian representative spoke next, her skin shimmering with emotion. "For too long, the Council claimed to represent all species while allowing the powerful to exploit the vulnerable. Today we create something better, a true alliance where even the youngest and weakest are valued." One by one, representatives came forward to add their signatures or equivalent marks to the document. When Ambassador Wright signed for Earth, the hall erupted in applause. Later, aboard the UES Horizon, Elijah found Kate in the observation deck, staring at the stars. He sat beside her. "Are you doing okay?" "I think so," she replied. "The counselors said the nightmares should stop eventually. But Dad, I keep thinking about something Jason said while we were escaping." "What's that?" "He said humans aren't actually the scary ones in the galaxy." Elijah raised an eyebrow. "No? No. He said what makes us different is that we're the only species that doesn't need to be reminded to protect children. Any children, not just our own." She looked up at her father. "Is that true?" Elijah considered this. "I'd like to think so. When your rescue team found those records showing experiments on other species young, our admirals immediately expanded the mission to include them too, even though it complicated the operation. The Doraxian children we rescued said their own government had given up looking for them years ago," Kate said quietly. "They thought they'd never see their families again until humans found them." Elijah put his arm around her shoulders. "Sometimes, it takes an outsider to remind us of our most important values." In the months that followed, humanity found itself in an unexpected position, not as the galaxy's warriors, but as its conscience. The new Interspecies Council headquarters was established on Earth's moon, a symbolic recognition that sometimes the youngest voices had the most important things to say. Admiral Bell, addressing the first session of the new council, summarized what would become humanity's defining role in galactic affairs. "We came to the stars hoping to find wonder. We found it. We came seeking knowledge. We gained it. But perhaps our greatest contribution wasn't our technology or our curiosity, but something far simpler. The reminder that across the vast differences of biology, culture, and history, some principles must remain inviolable." As for Kate Moore, she eventually returned to the Galactic Youth Ambassador program, now expanded and protected by an explicit treaty. The program brought together young people from all species to learn from each other and build understanding. One day, a young Zelaxian, part of the first generation to grow up under their society's new leadership, asked Kate why humans had reacted so strongly to the abduction. Kate thought for a moment before answering. "Because that's what humans do. We make mistakes, we fight among ourselves, but threaten our children, anyone's children, and you'll discover exactly why every spacefaring species gives Earth a wide berth." She smiled and added, "But we also forgive and we believe in second chances. That's why you're here learning alongside us, because the future belongs to all of us." The young Xylaxian considered this, then nodded slowly. "My elders speak of humans with both fear and respect. Now I understand why." On Earth, the story of the 8 abducted children became legend, a reminder of both humanity's ferocity and its compassion. Schools taught the history of the Centauri incident alongside lessons about responsibility toward other species, and throughout the galaxy, one rule was understood above all others. The protection of the young, of any species, was sacred. The rule that had once been broken was now the foundation of a new era of galactic cooperation. Commander Elijah Moore would later write in his memoirs, "We went to the stars believing we were small and insignificant. We discovered that what makes humanity special isn't our technology or our intelligence, but our unwavering conviction that some principles transcend all differences. In teaching this to the galaxy, we found our place among the stars." The first rule of the galaxy was never broken again.